Welcome into another edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast alongside Lucas Frankel at his laptop. I'm Mike Lucas on my cell phone because internet in College Station, Texas is not cooperating at the moment. Do you know what else isn't cooperating right now, Frank? The Yankees as an entire team. On days we've seen good pitching, on days we've seen bad pitching, on days we've seen them hit home runs, and on days we've seen them strike out double-digit times. So entering this series with the Rays that starts tonight, Frank, how frustrated are you with the early signs of this New York ball club?
My panic meter could not be any higher. Every single fear, every single thing that I thought could possibly go wrong has gone wrong for the first 12 games of the season. The starting pitcher behind Garrett Cole has been worse than I ever could have possibly imagined. Corey Kluber has an ERA over 6. Jameson Taillon is approaching 8 for his ERA. Domingo Germán has already been optioned to the alternate site. They're starting Nick Nelson tonight because they don't know what else to do with the starting rotation. This reliance on Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon never made any sense. The amount of investment that they put in those two guys, the amount of reliance they had on two guys that have been so unreliable the past 2 years, and to count on them as consistent, reliable rotation pieces never made any sense, and it's completely backfired in every single sense of the way. And don't even get me started on Jay Bruce, who, hear me out, is the single worst New York Yankees player in the history of the franchise. And that is saying a lot. There have been a lot of terrible players that have come across this team, but he is hitting 118. He has 13 strikeouts and 34 at-bats. He strikes out 1 every 3 at-bats. The last game he played against the Blue Jays on Wednesday, he went 0 for 4. He struck out twice and hit into 2 double plays. If that's not the single worst performance that the baseball world has ever seen on a given day, I mean, I can't think of anything else. Aaron Hicks is hitting 179. Stan's hitting 175. Clint Frazier's batting 200. Glaber's batting 220. This offense, they're so one-dimensional. It's a bunch of the same guys in the lineup. There's no versatility. I almost think, sorry, I know I'm rambling on here, that it would be better if this team missed the playoffs, because the only way you get change is if bad things happen. And the status quo here, and they make the playoffs, Cashman will just repeat the same stuff over and over again. The Yankees need a new philosophy. They need to switch things up because what's they're putting on the field right now isn't getting it done, and I don't think it will ever get done until things change.
No, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find your way out of a bad situation. And this Yankees team is filled with so many guys who, like you said, do exactly the same thing at the plate. They have 1.5, maybe 1.5 guys who can hit for contact and get a single in a time of need, or could advance the runner when it has to be, and virtually do anything besides strike out, hit a home run, or walk. I mean, how many guys on the team? I mean, Aaron Hicks comes to mind. They had Brett Gardner batting the 3-hole a couple of days ago, Frank. And Brett Gardner is a guy who barely made this roster, came back, was a free agent, probably should have retired. None of us were happy. We were mad, but none of us were excited that Brett Gardner was coming back for his 39th season in pinstripes. He's their 3-hole hitter on certain occasions. The whole team's flawed. And it's one thing to bet on high-risk, high-reward players at the end of your rotation, but to have 2 of your top 3 starters as guys that you cannot rely on physically was a flawed plan going into the year. This was a plan destined to fail, and it's almost like when it's like in basketball when you go into a game saying the only way we can beat this team is if we shoot 100 threes and we just happen to get hot. 9 out of 10 times it doesn't work. And this is a example of that with the Yankees, that this is not one of those rare occasions where those guys stay healthy and pitch to the caliber that they were 3 or 4 years ago, or when they were healthy in Taillon's case. But Kluber's been bad. Jameson's been bad. And outside of Cole, there's not a single person on that rotation you trust. So, yeah, it's a flawed system. And I don't know if missing the playoffs is the best thing, but major changes need to come about, because this franchise and this roster is stagnant in a place that it shouldn't be.
And I'm also sick of this load management crap. I know it's happening in every sport. We'll get to the Nets here in a second. But resting DJ LeMahieu when you have a day off the next day, like, what are you doing? Like, the Yankees are going through the motions here. They think that in their minds they already clinched the AL East. It's like the season's already, like, the regular season's already like an afterthought in their minds. There's no sense of urgency. They're just going through day by day. Okay, we have this team. Okay, we'll play that game. Move on to the next game. Rest this guy this day. Don't play Giancarlo Stanton in the field. Rest this guy. It's just like we got to pick it up here. And listen, Aaron Boone's a really, really nice guy, but this team hasn't been on the same level that they were on when Girardi was managing the team in 2017. I keep going back to this. It all started when they signed Stanton. The 2017 Yankees were one of the most rootable, likable teams that I've ever watched. And then who knows if the Astros didn't have their whole cheating scandal, which is why I'm still so angry at them. And May 4th is coming up very quickly, and I'm very excited to go unleash my fury on that franchise. But ever since they got rid of Girardi and brought in Boone, it hasn't been the same. And obviously it all coincides with Stanton as well. And it's extremely frustrating because this team should be so much better than they are, man. And Brian Cashman, like, he's got a lifetime contract for whatever reason. I'm done. I mean, I'm ready to move on. Like, he has made all these moves that he just gets free passes on, and I really don't understand it at all. And they are completely and utterly set up to fail. They got their Rays coming up this weekend, and this is I know it's April 16th. This is a huge series. The Rays kill us. Randy Arozarena is the biggest Yankee killer since David Ortiz, and I'm sick and tired of seeing this guy hit home runs against us, point his finger at the Rays dugout, and all like showboat against us. I'm sick of it. Randy freaking Arozarena. Like who like come on. This shouldn't be happening to us.
I'll also say this about Stanton, because I do agree that 2017 Yankees team was the most fun Yankees team I've had watching since their World Series year. When Stanton came, everyone started getting hurt. And I know it's not Stanton's fault, but it's almost like the injury plague followed him from Miami to New York, and Aaron Judge hasn't been fully healthy since. And we've seen Sevy go out, and we've seen Sanchez be hurt. We've seen Torres be hurt. When he came, for whatever reason, and it's not his fault, but I want to blame it on him because it should be his fault, because a lot of things with this Yankees franchise, a lot of problems are directly correlated to that exact trade. They're always hurt. They're never healthy. The Yankees are never healthy. And we saw it last week with Judge, and then we saw stuff. It sucks. It's not a good place to be if you're a Yankee fan right now.
You couple that with the fact that the Red Sox, I mean, they went on a 9-game winning streak, and the Red Sox are sort of at the place where the 2017 Yankees were, like no expectations, playing with house money. They got a ton of camaraderie. They got a ton of chemistry. They got a bunch of dudes that just grind out at bats, and they're extremely likable bunch right now. And they're a complete 180 from the Yankees. And I know the Red Sox they weren't forecast to do anything this year after losing Mookie Betts, not really underperforming last year. But when you're in a situation like the Red Sox are, where you have all these scrappy players and you're playing with house money and no one's giving you a shot, like that, like rallies the troops, and that's what was one of the most fun teams to root for. And it is what it is. I'm done talking about the Yankees.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about the Nets real quick. Let's start with LaMarcus Aldridge. Abruptly renounced his retirement out of nowhere. Complete shock on Thursday morning. He had missed the past 2 games, and that said it was an illness. I thought maybe it was rest when he didn't play against the other day against the Sixers. It was against the Sixers where he was also ruled out because he missed the Timberwolves game too. He may have missed the game against the Lakers as well, but I thought, man, all right, just resting this guy, and then it comes out that he's retiring due to a heart condition. And listen, I watched a ton of LaMarcus Aldridge in the week or 2 that he actually played for the Nets. I was extremely impressed. I mean, defensively, I know he was really, really bad against Drummond. I believe that was his last game, was against Drummond, and Drummond just ate him alive. And Aldridge actually had comments after the game, I need to be better defensively, which led me to believe there's no way this guy's possibly contemplating retirement. But now he's gone, and I thought he blended in so well early on. His instincts were so amazing in terms of knowing where to go with the ball, finding the open spot. His passing ability was incredible. Completely threw me off guard in terms of how well the passer he was. But it's just really, really unfortunate that he went through this little heart scare. And he said in his quote that he's fine now, but I guess he's so taken aback by going through that, which I guess I can understand. Like if your heart's not feeling right, like don't mess with it at all, because that you're talking about life and you're talking about just playing sport, and he's already has enough money to live a normal life.
No, when someone's with your heart, there are certain injuries you fight through, and then there are certain injuries that aren't worth the battle. And you saw Chris Bosh. I mean, Chris Bosh, the Heat wouldn't let him play with a similar injury, and that led to his retirement. It's just too risky of an injury to play through, knowing that, if you break your leg, you're going to be okay. If your heart stops working, that's life and death. So LaMarcus, I hope you enjoy retirement. It was fun watching him play with the Nets, because the crazy part is, Frank, he fit in seamlessly with what they did offensively. And it was almost, we both laughed when they signed him. I thought they signed him just to keep him from going to Miami. But he actually filled the void with them. And he's I don't want to say elite, but him and Blake Griffin are both really good passers from that big man position, and they can both knock down open jump shots. And whoever that fifth man is in this Nets lineup with the other scorers they have on the floor is going to just feast on wide open jump shots. And was it Charlotte they played when he started out the game hot in the baby blue uniforms, Frank? I think it was his first game, and he came in and just looked like he'd been playing with these guys for years, not literal days. So I think it is actually a loss for the Nets. I don't think it's catastrophic. I don't think any loss on this team outside of Kyrie, Durant, or Harden for a prolonged period is typically necessarily catastrophic. But the Nets need every available big man they have to throw against Embiid when that playoff series inevitably comes. And although Aldridge is not a defensive stalwart, he would have made Embiid guard him on the other end. And that is, if you can't stop Embiid, you have to make him work. And to at least get his fatigue down or fatigue up and make him expend a little bit of energy on that side of the court. And I think Aldridge was maybe more than any other big on the Nets roster, the guy that could have made Embiid work the most, because post defense does drain a lot of energy.
And the thought I had initially when I heard this was, man, like we could have had Drummond, because I believe they were picking between they had their choice of Aldridge or Drummond, and for whatever reason,
there's a reason they didn't take Drummond for that.
Why?
Drummond is not what Drummond fills one particular need for the Nets, and that would be trying to guard Joel Embiid. But he does not. All the passing and all the offensive things you saw Aldridge excel in for Brooklyn, that is not in Drummond's game. And Drummond's playing for a major contract this offseason. I mean, he's going to be a free agent. He's going to look to get a lot of money. And Drummond's a guy, in my mind at least, who would have caused more harm to the chemistry on the Nets offense than he would have done adding to what they want to do defensively.
But all right, so you saw what Joel Embiid did the other night against. He had 39 points. He had 30 at half. I mean, I think he would have given us the best chance to possibly at least sort of contains the best word of Joel Embiid. But now, I mean, you can't tell me that Drummond wouldn't have been the best guy to sort of counteract anything that Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid bring to the table. Like he would have been the best stopgap for that, especially now that Aldridge is gone. You can't tell me that that's a crazy thought.
No, I think defensively he's the best option, but I think you have to weigh both sides, and I think offensively he's a negative to what the Nets want to do, and you have to look at it in the like they chose Aldridge for a reason. I mean, it sounds like they had their choice and they chose Aldridge for a reason. And they were willing to sacrifice his lack of defense, because Aldridge is a subpar defender, for his ability to fit in seamlessly with their offense. Drummond can't pass. He can't shoot. And he would have just been standing on the block, clogging the lane for Kyrie and Harden to drive. So he literally was the opposite of what they want to do offensively, but he did give them the best defensive option. So
then you play chess and you lie to him when you sign him and be like, yeah, we'll play you all these minutes, and you just block him from going to the Lakers. Or whatever team that else wanted him, because now he looked like Shaq against us. I mean, at least a minor league version of Shaq. Like
so does every big against the Nets, because they don't have a real big.
Very frustrating. I just want to see Harden, Kyrie, and Durant play at least 3 games together before the playoffs. Is that too much to ask?
No, I want to see it too. And the other thing is, the Nets' best crunch time lineup is Durant at the 5 and Jeff Green guarding Joel Embiid. Even if they had Andre Drummond is not anywhere near that crunch time 5. So I don't think Aldridge and or Drummond affected the Nets' crunch time 5. And it's going to come down to, can Jeff Green and a double team from whoever slow down Embiid when his back's to the basket? That is the winning formula for the Nets to beat the Sixers in a series. And I think Simmons said it. Bill Simmons said it. Embiid's going to score 35 to 40 points a game in the series against the Nets. He's going to be the most dominant guy, and then he's going to have to chase KD on the other end. And can KD match him point for point? Which I believe he can if he's healthy.
Is he in the older days of the NBA, it was all about just get the dude in foul trouble. Why is it so hard to get Joel Embiid in foul trouble? Get him out of the game.
He's a really good defender. He's a really good defender.
Just get him out of the game. What do we do? Just attack him. Make him foul you. 2 quick fouls and he's out of the game and it's over. It's over.
Yeah, if he's not on the floor for the Sixers, the Nets run him off the court.
There's been a lot of talk, especially from like Stephen A. and a lot of these NBA like people. I saw a lot of chat about it before the Nets-Sixers game. All these people complaining the Nets that were resting KD, Blake Griffin, Harden, obviously. Who knows when he's coming back? Friday marks 10 days. Still no timetable at all on when he may or may not come back. Steve Nash said the other day that I guess there's a chance that those three guys won't play together, KD, Harden, and Kyrie, before the postseason starts, which would be a huge problem. But what do you make of all this criticism about? Because to me, the NBA asked for this. They're throwing these doubleheaders back-to-back games, back-to-back. And listen, look at the landscape of the league this year. LeBron's hurt. Anthony Davis is hurt. Durant got hurt. Harden's hurt. Embiid's missed a bunch of time. Jamal Murray tore his ACL. I mean,
Giannis is the only guy who's come out unscathed.
Giannis just missed 6 games, though. Giannis has been out for like 2 weeks.
Oh, I honestly did not know that. Then Jokic is the only out unscathed.
And listen, and every time I bet on someone to win MVP, they get hurt. So like, it's I can't stand people. I mainly the Sixers fans before that Nets game, but like, oh, like cowards. Like, give me a break. Like, you're all excited about an April, but 1 month to go in the regular season game. Like, give me a like.
Let me tell you something, Frank. Let me peel back the curtain and bring you into an NBA video room real quick. The Miami Heat missed 1 game in the first half of the season due to COVID. 1. And because of other team schedules, they are now playing 8 games in 12 days. That is not healthy. And that is not safe for players. Indoor coaches, indoor video coordinators who stay up till 3 a.m. cutting tape and scouting reports on West Coast teams because the games don't finish till 1 a.m. on the East Coast. The NBA schedule this year is an absolute cluster turd, for lack of a better word. And Luka Doncic and Mark Cuban coming out today and saying that the play-in tournament, which I think in a regular season is a great idea, and this condensed season is stupid, I think makes a lot of sense. I think it's absolute horse crap that they're making these teams play so many games in such a condensed period, and then 4 teams at the end, they go, oh, yeah, by the way, it doesn't really matter. Your whole season's on the line now in this 3-game series. Although the regular season was almost irrelevant then, and they're risking – I mean, I'll try to put this in a way that me and you and the other average viewer can understand, Frank. If you do chest every day at the gym, right, you go to the gym 5 days a week and you do chest every day, you're not going to get stronger. You're going to hurt your pectoral muscles. They need rest. They need to recover. You have to work other parts of your body so that you're not constantly using and overutilizing and over-pushing one certain muscle group. These dudes aren't getting rest. They're playing back-to-back, 1 day off, back-to-back. Jimmy Butler's 35 or however old he is, 33. Like, he's got a lot of miles on his legs. Not everyone's Tyler Hero. The young guys, yeah, they're probably more suited to do this, but some of the veterans, like, they're just not built for it. Goran Dragic is not built for that kind of schedule. And the NBA is, and they're doing it because of money, but they are literally putting their players' health at risk to an insane level by formatting the schedule as they have. And I agree. If a team wants to rest a guy, I don't think there's anything wrong with that on any national TV game, on any local TV game. If a dude needs a day off, give him the damn day off.
And the biggest thing for me is don't blame the player. Blame the league, because they're the ones who are orchestrating this. This isn't Kevin Durant's fault. This isn't James Harden's fault. This isn't Kyrie, or this isn't Steve Nash's fault. This is the NBA's fault for cramming all these games together. And when you schedule a back-to-back, you were asking for it, because the Nets will not play their guys in back-to-back games, especially when they're –
and they shouldn't. They should not.
All right.
I agree.
Moving on. 2 other quick things about the NBA real quick. Dwayne just announced Dwayne Wade to be part of the ownership for the Utah Jazz. And then obviously A-Rod the other day is joining in to be a partner in buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right, so we'll start with A-Rod here. It's crazy. He goes from on the brink of buying the Mets to settling for the Timberwolves. This is just a case of a dude that is, well, more so for society today, where there is no bigger ego stroke than saying that you own a professional sports team, and to be able to walk into a room and talk to a group of people and be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm the owner of this franchise. And you could bring them to the game, bring them to your owner's box. And it's just like you see with Patrick Mahomes and LeBron James and Michael Jordan and all these famous athletes who have the means to get into ownership, Derek Jeter, they jump at any opportunity they get. They don't care what team it is. Like Jeter buying the Marlins are the doormat of Major League Baseball. Yeah, it's all about flexing. I'll be shocked if Aaron actually bought like an apartment or a house in Minneapolis. Like he's never going to that.
Listen. I agree with everything you said, and I don't mean to cut you off, Frank. But let's be honest, he's not bringing people to Minneapolis to go to a T-Wolves game. At least when they're this bad. This is purely a money thing, and it makes sense. The value of every professional team is skyrocketing. We've seen teams sell for $600 million a couple of years ago. Now they're valued at $1.2 billion. So whatever A-Rod put into the Timberwolves, I'm sure will in 20 years will be double. And he's a businessman. A-Rod doesn't need to say, "Hey, I'm the owner of the Timberwolves." A-Rod can say, "I'm one of the most famous baseball players ever." Also, it is crazy that him and J-Lo almost bought the Mets, and now, love is dead. They broke up, and he's buying the Timberwolves. And what a sadder place to be as a single man than Minneapolis. I'm not sure there's a sadder sports city for a rich, famous single dude than Minneapolis, but I've never been there, so I probably shouldn't say that. But I have to imagine it's a step down from being a single guy in New York. So, love is dead, and the Timberwolves are back. That's the end of the story.
What do you make of D Wade buying being a part of the Jazz? Is that, you read anything into that? Yeah, same
money. It's he puts whatever in. He invested $100 million. In 20 years, it's going to be worth $250. It's money, and I'm sure he tried to invest in the Heat, and it wasn't available. And Utah was the only franchise that had a minority stake selling. So it's money.
Yeah, A-Rod, I don't care what he does. But like D Wade needs to be associated with the Heat. Jeter needs to be associated with the Yankees. I don't like seeing all these guys that were so ingrained in one franchise's history, and all of a sudden they're obviously, as you said, they do it for the money aspect of it. But like, to me, it almost be better for their legacies if they just stuck with the franchise that became famous with, and it would just make so much more sense than like seeing Larry Bird go with the Pacers and Jeter with the
Jordan with the Hornets.
It's disgusting. Moving on to the NFL draft, I heard an interesting point about Trevor Lawrence, and maybe it's just part of me the Jets aren't going to get him. That sort of making me like believe that it could be true. This whole belief that Trevor Lawrence,
I'll get out of here. I know where you're going with this.
The chip on his shoulder.
Say your point. Make your point. Make your point.
Well, like, he's a dude that from the time that he was probably in 6th grade, give or take a year or two, they knew that this dude was like legit. And he was going places, and he's been coddled and praised and just put on a pedestal like no other for basically his entire life. Like, you're the greatest. We love you. You're the savior. And then you go to the NFL, and you get a little taste of reality and how much do you really want it, and how much are you able to overcome when things for the first time, you're not being coddled and praised and everything is set up for you to succeed. It was just a point I heard that I think is worth at least acknowledging for a guy like, because he's not like a Tom Brady who had to fight for everything that he ever got before he, became the starting quarterback for the Patriots. Ugh, bless you.
Thank you. So while I agree with everything you're saying, I would like to counter with this. While Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall prospect in his high school class, Justin Fields was number 2. Justin Fields has been given the keys his whole life as well. And you don't see him, his draft stock's being teared down, and for reasons that I don't understand, I would still take him 2nd overall. But you look at the different narratives, and at this point of the season, this point of the draft season, you're running with anything. You are taking any bit of information and you're spinning it however you want it to fit your narrative. And you're on the Zach Wilson train, and rightfully so, Frank.
Wait. I'm on the Zach Wilson. I mean, listen.
Well, the Jets are.
The Jets are. Yeah. Don't say me. Don't attribute me to that.
But I'm saying, because the Jets are, you're going to buy into Zach Wilson.
But no, says who? No, that's not how this works. He's got to earn it.
Okay, well, if they got Trevor Lawrence,
hold on, hang on. Why would I trust anything this organization, the Jets, decides to do? What reason should I have to believe that they are making the right decision here? When Kyle Shanahan, who is a way more trustworthy evaluator, moved hell, heaven, and earth to move up to number 3 when everyone knew that Trevor Lawrence was going first and Zach Wilson was going second because there's a quarterback that he wants and it's either Trey Lance or it's not Mac Jones. There's no way. I will die on this hill. There is no way, and we'll play this back when he does it. There is no way that he is taking Mac Jones third. And Kyle Shanahan traded a bunch of picks to take a guy that the Jets aren't taking. And so in his mind, he sees a guy at number 3 that he likes better than Zach Wilson because otherwise he would trade up for the Jets. And that
did you see the report they offered 12 for Sam Darnold?
That's a lie. That there's no way that's true. The Jets would have taken that and ran with their head and not even asked any. Yeah, here you go, done. And there's no way that's true. That dude is lying. But I'm just telling you that this Kyle Shanahan thing, I don't understand it, but it scares the crap out of it. Should. Not that I'm a Jets fan at the moment, but it should scare the crap out of any Jets fan because if he sees someone that he thinks is better than Zach Wilson, that person is probably better than Zach Wilson. And it'll probably end up being better than Zach Wilson. And obviously there's a lot of different angles you can go here. The 49ers have one of the best supporting casts in the entire NFL. The Jets don't. So the dude that they take has a better chance of succeeding right away as opposed to Zach Wilson, who's coming into this, dysfunction and all these new pieces and new ownership and new coaching staff and new offensive coordinator. And while the 49ers have this very solid infrastructure, which is so critical, and the environment that you come into as a quarterback is one of the most important aspects of you having a successful career. Because if Lamar Jackson went to the Jets, he'd be out of the league at this point, in my opinion.
I think you nailed it, and I'm not even going to add to it. I agree.
All right, I like when it happens. So NFL win totals actually just came out today. Just out of curiosity, what do you think the Giants win total number is set at for this year?
For the record, I have not seen this, so this is a straight guess. I'll say 7.5.
All right, it's 7.
7?
And what do you think it is for the Jets?
6.
It is 6 on the dot. Well done. And if you had to take
give me a couple more.
If you had to take a guess, what team or teams do you think have the lowest win total in the NFL this year? Which team do you think has the lowest projected win total?
If you're asking me, it means it's probably not the Jaguars. So I'm going to go with the Eagles.
You think the Eagles had the lowest win total? Are you crazy?
I feel like you're throwing me a curveball.
No,
it's the Lions.
The Lions and the Houston Texans. So they must have an inkling that Deshaun Watson's going to miss a bunch of time here. They are both at 5. Their win totals are set at 5. This is per William Hill Sportsbook in Las Vegas.
Interesting. Yeah, those feel about right. I would take the under on both the Lions and the Texans at this point.
I feel like the Giants number at 7 is very, very low. I feel like, assuming Daniel Jones just doesn't.
I take the over.
Doesn't fall off a cliff like that Giants team, and they're gonna add, I presume, a Waddle or a Devontae. You would think
pass catcher. They're gonna take a pass catcher.
I guess there's a chance. I've seen Parsons go to them in a few mock drafts, but I think the Giants go over that number at 7. That number seems low to me. Broncos at 7.5 is. The Panthers at 7.5 is one of the more intriguing ones to see how Darnold fits in India because I almost feel like you got to take the under with Carolina too, and just very fascinating taking an early look at those win totals, see how they fluctuate.
I think Carolina's over. I think their division. I think it's a weak division.
Be interesting to see how those fluctuate from now until the time of the season starting. By the way, before we go, I placed $200 in the NFL draft, 2 parlays. I'll read it to you. Tell me how this can't hit. Okay, so here it is. Trevor Lawrence, first overall pick, lock. Zach Wilson, second overall pick, lock. Jamar Chase, drafted in the top 10, lock. Patrick Surtain, first cornerback drafted, virtual lock. Micah Parsons, first linebacker drafted, virtual lock. Penei Sewell, first offensive lineman drafted. That's probably the behind Lawrence and Wilson. That's probably the third most likely or third. So what doesn't hit there?
I see 2. I see 2 that might not. I agree. I could see J.C. Horn being the first corner off.
If J.C. Horn gets drafted ahead of Patrick Surtain, that is a joke. That is a joke.
I could see Rashawn Slater.
No, he's not. No, you don't. You don't believe that.
I'm just saying, you asked where it can fail. I think they're all right where that could fail. Like Parsons, lock of the century. There's not a linebacker going before him. Jamar Chase, top 10, lock of the century. I think the first 2 picks, locked in. You asked me where I can see it fail. Those are the 2 where I can see it fail. You put 200 on that parlay?
I actually did 2 separate ones, virtually the same. The only difference was when I had Jamar Chase first receiver drafted. The other one was Jamar Chase drafted in the top 10.
And what's the payout?
One was plus 143. The other was plus 116.
Well, I hope you win, Frank.
I'm telling you, the NFL draft, I'm telling you, is it'll end up biting me, but that's where you could really make some serious hay because there is a lot of predictability with the NFL draft. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast.
I'll be back on laptop next time. I promise.
Mike does not know how to deal with his connection. It's really, really pathetic if you ask me. See you guys next week.